Well, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, councillors. And good afternoon and welcome, Mr. Milne. Nice to have you with us this afternoon. You are our only submitter this afternoon, so it'll be nice to give you sufficient time to highlight things from your submission to us this afternoon. So welcome, and we'll move straight into... Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. I do need to take apologies. And we have apologies from Councillor Stewart and from Mr. Berriman Kemp. Oh, and Councillor Donaldson. Yes, sorry, that's right, from this morning. So thank you, Councillor Kent, for moving those. Thank you, Councillor Hunt, for seconding those. So all those in favour, the apologies be accepted. Thank you. Carried. So thank you. So this is our Strategy, Policy and Finance Committee hearing and deliberations meeting for us on the Solid Waste Bylaw 2016. And as I said, welcome, Mr. Milne, and happy to listen to your submission and the points that you might want to raise. Thank you. Yes, I think it might be better for you to use your microphone so that... Thank you. Mr. Milne, do please use your microphone because this is being live streamed. Thank you.
How far back off it?
That's fine. You can, no,
Yeah,
that's...
righto.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ready to go?
Yes, also...
Oh, okay, right.
Thank you.
Excuse these glass prescription, the other ones, all this hurry to come earlier, I've only got my reading ones on, hard to see you out there, but if I put those on, I wear this because I get a lot of glare. Worked outdoors in my life, I always apologise for the cap. You just get these bloody lights straight into you, you know. Okay.
Thank you.
I've just... first of all, I'd like to, welcome you all. You know, when I say welcome, but good luck in the elections, all of you. You know, if I ring you up, I ring up without fear or favour. So, you know what I mean? And you all, one way or the other, seem to get there. Okay, so good luck with it all.
Thank you.
And be a bit of a bun fight, but never mind. I basically put this submission in. Can you hear me? Yep. Oh, well, he's telling me to do it. Yeah, okay. Gotcha. Right, that's easy. And I've contracted in this area for 30 years. I had the Waipa contract for 20. Did all, so I know what rubbish is. And I used to take a lot of stuff that dump. And it's just, I've put in my submission basically, Rotorua has got a lot of rubbish all around the place. I go away on the buses quite a bit. I use the buses in town and walk a lot. All the gutters, I just came down Fenton Street in the car and there's bottles and paper, and you go up Perarika Street's bad from St John's. I took some into Gary Page a while back. They mowed it. I said, well, this used to go on for years. Whenever I mowed stuff, we had to pick it up first or we get sacked. But never mind. Also, like with the new bus shelters round at Ottawa Street, that's a mess now. There's cigarette butts everywhere. They're flicking them all the time. If you look in the gardens there, there's in the gutters into the lake. And I know you've got the guy going around town. He's a good guy too, works hard, but there's a lot of rubbish around Rotorua. You come and I go to the Mount quite a bit on the bus there, and you come back into town because you see it all. It's in the gutters out there, and also around town, up where I am at Type-Rooted Place, the gutters haven't been actually sucked out, you know, the drains. This, after all the leaf fall, that's about 3 months ago, they're still blocked. And there's bits of rubbish in them. Not all of them, but I think one or two people up there, they just haven't done them this year. Don't know what's going on, but but if you like to just drive up Perarika Street, it's always bad up there. I don't know why, but it's this. Now I went down to Taranaki about 3 months ago to see my son-in-law, who's the dog sergeant down there now, Max Spedding, and on the bus. Now New Plymouth's tidy, Inglewood's tidy, Stratford's tidy. We went over to camping over there in the summer over at Ohiwa. Pariki's tidy, funnily enough. I thought it might be a bit of a Wild West place, but it's tidy. And, you know, Mount Maunganui, basically tidy. They've got people picking stuff up all the time. Tauranga is tidy. And I picked up all the rubbish out at Waipa for 20 years when I had the contract. Me and staff I had too, but, you know, I've had the courthouse for years, pick it up all the time there. I'd do it as well. I don't mind doing it. And with our tramping group, over the years, Waka Forest is a mess now with all the bikers out there. They're on walking tracks, there's bits and pieces everywhere. We used to go out there as a group, our tramping group in Waka, and we'd actually take little bags with us and we'd pick up the odd, after an event, they leave bottles lying around and tape and, you know, it's I don't know what's happening, but you mentioned all this in your bylaws. I was very pleased to read this bylaw thing, actually. It's really what you need to do. And it's a good one, but it's got to be chased up too. You've got to actually do something about it. The rugby grounds up there 3 weeks ago, picked stuff up, brought it to Gary Page. It's all around the place. There was a drum tipped over up there with cans and bottles lying just over by the stream. Yeah, I could take you out there if you want to go for a walk in the forest, show you. I'm not, you know, I'm a practical guy. I've been, you know, farming contracting. I see things. I'm not wishy-washy. It's what I see is what I speak about. So I've just put in my submission, and it's, you know, you've got to do something about these cigarette butts around town. I mean, you know, I'd rather see the parking wardens give people tickets for that rather than give the cars tickets, you know. But your CEO, Jeff, he's actually a litter control officer, and he can delegate it down through the staff. You councillors elect him. Okay, that's how that one works. And it's a tourist town, but all the highways coming in. Hemo Gorge is bad out there. It's a mess out there with those palisades. God, but never mind. I rung up about them. Been like it for ages. Wairiki, up at the Tree Trust. I got a bit annoyed up there. My daughter's memorial tree is up there, and a lot of those young guys coming around there for lunch and making a mess. So I followed a few of them back to the campus there. Then last year I had a meeting with them up there at Wairiki. I asked them to print it down here. They said, "Oh, we'll charge you 20 cents." I said, "Oh, forget about it. You know, I was going to hand it round to you all." But this was from the guy in charge. He said, "Oh, yeah, we'll do something about it," but they haven't. Because I had a look the other day. There's rubbish all around their campus where the bus shelters are. You know, it's just lying in the gutters. It's everywhere. And I'm not having you on about it. If you're on the buses, you see it like that. And it's out, you know, by the airport, Nongatara out here to a certain extent. And Waipa, when I left that contract 10 years ago, that was in spotless order. I used to contract to the Waipa Mill, and they were very strict about rubbish. I'd make sure it was clean at the beginning of the week, and we'd pick up rubbish all the time out there. And you go out there now, and there's stuff chucked everywhere. You know, it gets picked up odd times. I don't see any bins out there. Hardly any toilets. There's none down in where they park further down. They go into the bushes and all that. Yeah, but with this mountain bike thing, I'm not against it, but they've taken over all the walk tracks, which annoys us a lot. But never mind. But they're flicking little. Sometimes it's only bits and pieces, you know, like a lolly wrap or something like that. But you know, it's not everyone doing it. But yeah, our tramping group, we used to, you know, as I said, pick the rubbish up. We'd see a bottle, chuck it in a plastic bag, 25 of us, 30 of us out there. And this is what's happening. It's been like this for 10, 20 years. It's so I just thought, you know, it's just what I observed, what I've been doing, know the whole area, know it well. And there was a fuss made years ago about Tinai Road being rubbish, and I think Councillor Stitt kicked up a fuss about it, and then he found out it was the council's responsibility, and they backpedaled. They thought it was the roads people, but the side is your responsibility, not the middle. Oh, it's a hard one to work out, that one, but never mind. So I don't want to bitch and moan too much about it, but the facts are out there. You know, I could take you in a minibus and just go for a drive and show you. You know, I just don't pluck all this out of the thin air. So, okay, but that's what it's like out there. And around the suburbs, in the gutters, it's all over the place. So, and you know, you go up by the stadium there, of course, and those big paddocks there, and it's not very far from the stream there, so the stuff, that day we were up there, as I said, that bin was tipped over and there's all these cans lying in the water. It's been a heavy rain. So, I don't want to go on about it, but I have personally picked up rubbish for 25 years in this district. Plus, I do it. If I'm in the street and see a bit, I pick it up, put it in the bin, you know, but I'm not going to pick up after everyone. I tell them off at the bus stop there now for flicking cigarette butts in the gutter. They're in the back gardens by the library now, everywhere. You've got those guys going around town, but that's window dressing. It's not the whole district. This is a district, not a town, not a city. Okay, I won't go on about this because the facts are out there, and if you want to take an interest in it, look at it. Rubbish is most important. It's got to be looked at. People don't like it, and not to mention fly tipping. That's all over the show. That Jubilee track, the bottom is always rubbish there. I go out and help mate out there at Paradise Valley a bit, and there's always rubbish there. You know, it's just chucked there. People are chucking it, but because I used to do a lot of fire control work here, people with the tractors years ago, Nevin Hill. 80s and 90s, and every section I did, and I had hundreds of them at the time. There weren't many houses built around. I'd pick the rubbish up where I could, or if it was too big a job, I'd let them know here, and they'd send someone out and do something about it. But we were always picking out Kilwell's out there. I used to mow that. They parked there. They put the skateboard thing in, so they were all there, rubbish everywhere. Then the mowers would come in. I've reported this in the past. And they'd mow it, and then one bit of plastic would become 20 bits. Then it would blow into Kilwells through the fence. Then I'd have to pick it up. So I'd had your officers out there often, you know, having a moan about it. No, we can't do anything about it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But that's happening recently down in Perarika Street. They mowed the grass there and mowed it again and done it. I bought stuff in the bag for Gary, handed it to him. Okay, not having to go at him, but this is what the area is like. It's been like it, and nothing done about rubbish. Okay, I'll leave it at that, I think, because I'm not angry, it's just, I don't know. I'm nearly 77, you know, and you get to the stage you wonder. Now, the rubbish dump, I also put a bit in my submission about the dump out there. It hasn't been explained properly what's happening. I think by the sound of it, Waste Management have got it. And I brought up in my submission the annual, your 10-year plan one. I mentioned the dump out there, and I did say that Waste Management have a transfer station in town, Tenai Road. You know, it's out there. I've taken stuff there, and that seemed to me to be what New Plymouth does. That the Mount does that. You take the stuff to there, and then they put it up, sort it up a bit. You tip it out on concrete. You know, the dump out there's been a shocker. You know, women go out there and shoes, mud and slush. It was never well run. Used to complain. I used to take a lot of stuff there, mainly green waste. But this is going back 10, 15 years now. So, presumably Waste Management have got it. And no one quite knows whether you're meant to go out there or... And then you've got this other company, and you couldn't go on with these bags because they were illegal. The people standing on trucks are still doing it. Standing on the back of a truck. If I was contracting and had staff doing that, I'd have been kicked out of forestry and everything. But I saw them today. They stand on the back of the truck. Someone rams up behind. They're dead. So you had to go to the bins, and good on you. And but you've got two companies now. You've got Waste Management, and they've got bins. My ex-wife, Lynmore there, she has a bin from Waste Management. I don't know what's happening there. She gets a rebate from the council for not using the bags, you know. So it hasn't been explained properly. Also, I brought up in my submission, and that dump could be a legacy problem out there. It hasn't been well run over the years. They chucked a lot of tyres in there 10 or 15 years ago. I used to complain of why are they putting tyres in the dump? Whole tyres, they wouldn't even cut them. They come up after a while. Eventually you'll have to cap it off, put, you know, stuff on it. It's been built up, and there was a huge blowout out there about 5 or 6 years ago. Plastic and stuff all down the stream there. I rang regional council about it, so did quite a few other people I knew, but I don't know whether anyone went down the stream. And it was in the blackberries hanging down there. We had a rainfall about a month ago up in Tyberita Place there. It's the heaviest one I've known since I've been up there 10 years. And it was a downpour for about 20 minutes, a real beauty. And that dump area, it's that rain. You've got a big catchment behind that dump. Now, I know you've addressed it a bit in recent times, but they used to have the gutters from the dump just coming down straight into the stream, you know, with bugger all to catch it. So I think it's been changed a bit now, but that's potentially a downpour area because you've got the Mamacoos and the hills there and that type. Also, that dump out there is built on a fault line, the Horror fault, and, you know, it mightn't go off for 50 years. It might go off tomorrow. We don't know. You're addressing all the buildings because of this. So I'm just pointing this out. I've seen the dump over 20, 30 years, how it was built up, and it was done some funny ways at times. It overhangs that stream. From good advice from one of your staff, said you might have to put a culvert in there so the stuff doesn't go into, you know, I'm just pointing this out. There could be legacy issues out there that are going to cost big money. So put money aside for it. I'm just, you know, I know this area. I've tramped in it. I know the geology. I'm only an amateur, but I know the geology. I know what happens. I know runoffs. I was farming, you know. So these things are, but please explain to the general public just what's happening. Is it dump waste management? Is that open for people to go out there, or is that becoming transfer station at waste management in town? They take the stuff out there, no entry except for your own trucks. No one knows what's going on. And as I said, you've got two companies doing the rubbish. So is waste management going to close theirs down, or I don't know? Or, you know, at my submission in the 10-year, I did point this out. I held the thing up. I said, waste management, you know, before they hadn't had this contract out there, I said, this is what's going to happen. They've got the transfer station, which the council should have built it years ago. Mount Maunganui did it. New Plymouth has done it. You back in, concrete, tip it off, and they sort it with a big loader. It's all on concrete. Drive out, it's gone. So, okay.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Milne.
Yeah, this is stuff I have observed over the years, and you ring up, and sometimes no one wants to hear it, you know.
Thank you very much, Mr. Milne. You've had 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
Well, lucky I had 15 minutes because I had no notification of this meeting. Rick rang me the other day, and I've done my best to just get ready for it. I was caught out a bit.
Thank you.
I've come here 1 hour earlier for you.
Thank you.
And he rang me the other day on the Tuesday and asked if I could come 1 hour earlier from 2:30 to 1:30. And I said, well, hang on a minute. I don't even know I'm coming this week. I've had nothing. It hasn't arrived in my mailbox yet, but no one rang. So, hell, you're lucky. 2 days' notice. So, yeah, so I've rushed in today. I was actually in town, but wasn't dressed or had a shave or anything. Shower. So I had to rush home, back. So, you know, I've had my 15 minutes, but I've spent a lot of running around just for this.
Thank you very much. And we did receive your submission.
Thank you.
And obviously we've looked at that. But thank you for pointing out to the areas of your areas of concern and also providing us with some historical information as well. I do say it's a pity many members of our public weren't as concerned as you are about the litter and rubbish, because that actually, a lot of that does come from public who have no regard for the environment. So, so you're certainly setting the example and have done so, obviously so, for many, many years. Waste management is important to our city. We are addressing that. We are addressing that through the Solid Waste Bylaw 2016. So, and that's what we're pleased that you were able to make a submission on that today. So I want to thank you very much for coming along and talking with us this afternoon.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Stavros. Thank you. And like to, oh yes, we'll have a resolution. We do have on that Mr. Milne's submission to the Solid Waste Bylaw 2016 be received. Can I have a mover? Thank you, Thank you, Councillor Maxwell. Thank you, Councillor Hunt. All those in favour, please say aye. Thank you. Carried. Right.
Thanks for that.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yep,
Mr.
good
Milne.
luck,
Thank you.
Oh, Glenys, thank you very much over the years. I just want to make a little thank you for Glenys, the work she's done. Glenys is not a personal friend, not a social friend of mine, but boys, John Kennedy liked her, Graham Hall liked her. I woman amongst all those guys. It was hard work, Dennis, but thank you very much for what you've done. Yeah, and you're always on the phone, always available on the phone, and good advice. Thank you, Glenys. Appreciate what you've done for the district.
Thank you.
Okay, see you all.
Thank you very much. So our staff report, our recommendation 1, the Solid Waste Bylaw 2016. Oh, declarations of interest. No, sorry. Thank you. No. Solid Waste Bylaw 2016. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please, that we receive the report? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Weber. Thank you, Councillor Hunt. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, thank you. Carried. Thank you, Stavros, and welcome. Good afternoon to you both.
Thank you very much. So I just want to quickly go through a presentation around the solid waste bylaw. So as we've had a meeting back in June to discuss going out for consultation with the solid waste bylaw, this solid waste bylaw is to replace the 2 current bylaws that we have in the district, which is the Sanitary Landfill Bylaw 2008, as well as the Waste Collection Bylaw 2012. The aim of this solid waste bylaw is to support the waste strategy going forward and the new service that the council is currently instigating, and especially starting from October 31st. So the aim of this bylaw would be to support our current service going forward and our waste strategy. So the bylaw went out for public consultation from the 1st of July to the 29th of July. Prior to that, as mentioned within the committee meeting we had in June, we also did some prior engagement with our key stakeholders, which was Toitiara, the waste industry, and any sustainable companies such as the Sustainable Business Network. From the public consultation, we've only had the 1 submission that was received. And you've just heard Mr. Milne just going through his submission, and that's held within the document in front of you. So Mr. Milne's submission is pretty much around an operations of how the district deals with its litter and its waste as a service. This is partly supported by the bylaw, but what Mr. Milne's submission is quite a lot around is how council does its operations. And we are looking to improve our operations through the new contracts we have in place. We are increasing the amount of litter collection that we do along the sides of the roads. We will be doing about 10 kilometres of litter collection along the side of the roads. We are increasing the capacity and the volume of our litter bins and the actual state of them. So we're moving away from the reserves drums, etc., to wheelie bins on the reserves, which should hopefully reduce the amount of litter from our own infrastructure. So we're aiming to try and provide infrastructure to reduce Mr. Milne's concerns. Another part of the bylaw, which wasn't covered by any submissions, is how and when do we instigate some of the bylaws. So from clause 3 of the bylaw, there is a range of dates that we can potentially look at using. So we would like the bylaw to start on the 31st of October 2016 to supersede the current, to revoke the current 2 bylaws on the same date, then to instigate this new bylaw, making it active from the 31st of October. This aligns the bylaw to our new collection service, which we're rolling out. With the next few clauses, sub-clauses of clause 3 of the bylaw, Clause 11.1, we would like that to come in from the 1st of July 2018. Clause 3.3 to come in from the 1st of July 2018, same as Clause 3.4. This allows us time to work with the industries who are affected. So these clauses cover events, so we'd like to work with the event organisers to ensure that they've got the waste management and minimisation plans in place. Also allows us to build in times to work with the community, the waste industry, to ensure that we get a licensing system that suits all parties, so that they're not worried about providing us with commercially confidential information and there's any chance that the release of the information, what council holds, affects that business standing within the community. So it's trying to make sure that we work with all of our partners who are affected by this bylaw going forward, This is also around the development of units or multiple occupancy dwellings to ensure that we can work with those partners to able to have plans and how they deal with the waste going forward. Work with the building consents team within our own council to ensure that if there is any more subdivisions going forward, that they take into account how they can deal with waste in the future. So if a large-scale block of flats is developed, that there is capacity in there to be able to hold the waste properly within their premises. So it's forward to think about the services that we are going to provide them and how they can be serviced. So we come to a range of timeframes to be able to instigate different parts of the bylaw. And these allow us, as I've mentioned, to have different controls put in place. We'll be able to come back to council, put these controls in front of you to be approved by council if you so wish to have those controls. So the recommendations, obviously the report to be received, that we revoke the bylaws that were currently in place and replace the bylaw with the Solid Waste Bylaw 2016 and make that active and operational from the 31st of October. Any questions?
Thank you. Yes, I'm sure there will be. Councillor Kent?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have some issues with the wording of this document in several places. The one that really concerns me is the fact that you're actually legalising fly tipping. It states in 12.1 that waste can be placed in a public place for collection includes domestic waste and green waste, and if you look at your definition of public place, it includes a road.
It includes, sorry, what was that?
A road
A road.
is included as a public place. So you are actually making it legal for people to tip domestic waste and green waste onto a road.
That's ambiguous then, you're saying, yes. Right, okay.
It definitely needs tidying up.
I think the clause, Councillor Kent, refers to the ability to put waste, in a public on a footpaths to be collected from. So there's a deposit and collection of waste from a public place. The public place referred to is the road corridor, basically the footpaths, and the curb, But it's got to be, if you follow other clauses, you'll find that there will be significant sort of licensing provisions. So you cannot put, for example, the waste and green waste just dumped onto the road. It's got to be in an approved container.
That's not what this document says. This document says that you can place waste for collection, domestic waste or green waste can be placed in a public place for collection, and a public place includes a road. So that the wording is very bad. This is 12.1. Page 15.
Yes, you have something to...
That covers, Stavros, the issue raised yesterday at the meeting that you had at Rotorua, where the community very happily takes their rubbish to the hall and collect, that's a collection point on the side of the road. It's an agreed collection point for the community. Is that what this would cover? That's right. Yeah.
As an agreed collection point on a public road.
So
Everything we put on public road for collection is a collection point.
So perhaps the amendment that reflects then Councillor Kent's noted point, there are agreed collection points with communities, and if we just put on on an agreed public place for collection, because different communities are pointing out that we do this, it works for us, that's where we want it to be. So it's only adding the word agreed.
Well, I would replace with an authorized rather than agreed.
Authorised, yes.
Because
Yeah,
we are the
authorised.
regulator, we are the
Yeah.
regulating authority,
Yeah.
authorized.
That's a good point. You had some further points. Councillor.
Right. The next one that concerns me rather much is 9.2.1 on page 14, where it's the responsibility of the occupier, owner or manager of the premises to keep their bins in good repair. So if, for example, I put my bin out in the morning for collection and in good faith, and the bin doesn't come till later in the day, and the bin's emptied, and I don't get home from work until the wind's blown it into the middle of the road and someone's crashed into it and destroyed the bin, I'm liable.
Well, I mean, it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon. I mean, I've had bins when I was living in Auckland and Wellington. Can't remember them ever
Did you
getting
have to
crashed
pay
into.
for them to be repaired? I
No.
don't think so.
No, I didn't
in a
have to pay
case
for them
like
to be
that,
repaired.
it would just be replaced, surely.
May I respond to that?
Yes, certainly.
I think it is a valid point. However, one needs to consider what the alternative is. And the alternative, remember, we'll be providing something in the region of about 55,000 wheelie bins to the community, over the next couple of months. And those bins are funded through public funds and given to the care of each individual property, and they have a life cycle assumption behind them. Now, inside our contracts, we have allowed a percentage of these bins for fair wear and tear or damage, unintended damage and so on. However, the regulation needs to cover the possibility of willful damage by that, so the individual who damaged those bins needs to bear the, have the responsibility. Otherwise, the alternative would be to be funded through public funds again. So I can see the point that could be perceived that, well, it's not my responsibility, but at the same time, too, I think Council has to have a regulatory position which says that, in the event that a property owner is careless or behaves an irresponsible attitude to that, should we are asking the public funds to fund that responsibility? And I think the regulation allows for that, for the owner to bear the burden of replacement if the damage is caused by his negligence.
Yeah.
Perhaps we should actually say that in the document. My next point concerns clause 24 on page 20. I'm very surprised to see that we don't have any prohibition against fly tipping or rubbish being injected from a vehicle.
Oh, 20, page 20.
Yeah, I think, Councillors, the intention here is that once we license the collection of or transportation of waste, the licenses will embody special conditions for that licensing, and people flout those special conditions, that will be committing an offence against the Act if they allow waste to fall off their collecting vehicles.
I'm talking about people throwing rubbish out of their car windows, which seems to be the source of most of the rubbish along the roadways that we've got an issue with. How are we not actually stating that it is illegal to throw rubbish out of your car window? We have the opportunity here in this document.
I think it's stated in another clauses that it's actually illegal to dump unauthorized waste anywhere. The question is that we can sit and specify every individual possibility as an act of of illegal fly tipping, but I think the act the regulation 1972 specifically says it's illegal to dump waste in unauthorized locations.
And I think you're right. You're not going to cover all bases, but if it's just saying that it's illegal to dump waste, it is. Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, well, my point is, I think the document is rather loosely worded in a number of places, and I personally would recommend that it was actually passed by a lawyer to pick out all the loopholes first before we actually put this into effect as a bylaw.
Yeah. Yes, ask it. Yes.
Just clarify for me, Tim or Stephen, this has been through a lawyer, hasn't it? I know we got someone to do it, and some of the language was a bit difficult, and so we asked for that to be tidied up.
Yeah.
So the consultant we have used is a barrister, so he put the documents together, and it's also based on the Auckland Council bylaw, which has been put through the courts as well, and read through from all parties. So it's based on legislation that has been tested in courts, and we have done some minor variations through a consultant who has a legal background as well.
Issue, if I may, was they had some strange words in there most people wouldn't understand, like affliction and all this sort of stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Your Worship.
See it here very explicitly. And this is the legal interpretation. 2.3.2.2, no person may dispose of any waste on any premises except at. And then they outline except at. If you put fly tipping in, you'll go through legal precedents trying to describe what fly tipping is. And so this is a very clear statement.
Thank you. Councillor Gould.
Madam Chair, with the problem with 12.1, why don't you just put in brackets designated collection point, and that will save any problem, because a designated collection point on most people's property will be their front gate.
I just want to see if you're going to respond to that. No? Thank you. Councillor Webber.
Comment on that. We have to be a little bit careful, and I think because I had a complaint from someone recently in the last week who had read our website and were most incensed because they thought it was far too descriptive, because we show on a diagram how to place your bins, and they thought we were being, too military, and they were very upset about that. So I think this covers it quite nicely without saying, because they're saying, do you expect us to get out there with our ruler and measure how far from the curb and how far our bins are? So it's kind of, giving people the impression, but try not to be too regimented. It's very difficult to please everyone. And I think this document, as it has been, as Tim said, through a barrister, and tried to eliminate some of the words that are far too, difficult to, open and difficult to explain, and made it quite simple. So I think it's to me, pretty reasonable, but anyway.
Thank you. Yes, Miss Morrison.
I recall the first time that we had this introduced, you had a briefing paper on the front of it, and in that it talked about, general views of this is for environmental sustainability, and there was some discussion around Māori concepts of kaitiakitanga, and I just don't really see any of that brought through into here in the introduction or preamble, and also picking up on the other comment about having regard for the environment. I know it's picked up in the New Zealand Waste Strategy, in terms of taking responsibility, but we've got an opportunity here to make quite explicit, like some higher level values around how this council and the community are going to work together to help the environment. I'm just interested in your comments on that.
Ms. Morrison, you're absolutely right. However, those principles, overarching principles, is not a place in the bylaw. You will receive, unfortunately post-election, because we're running out of time at the moment, the draft waste strategy of this council, which has been agreed in June, July last year, with a recommendation to finalize this, our next 6-year strategy. And that strategy will embody all these preambles and the principles you just described here too. The bylaw is a legal document that allows us to enforce or to give effect to that strategy, and the strategy will come to you in the next couple of months.
Your Worship.
Yeah, just a question, Stavros. Wouldn't this, once we've done the sustainable living strategy out for consultation, and that's got in it the principles of guardianship of the environment, wouldn't the bylaw be an attachment to the waste management strategy, or waste management plan, which is part of that whole sustainable living strategy? That's the document where you give the lofty sentiments of the scene setting, and then this is just really like a regulation.
Yeah, Your Worship, we agree. The sustainable, living strategy is our overarching principles. Is the waste management plan. It's a subset of that, and the bylaw is a tool to enforce it.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, if there's no further sorry. Oh, yes, thank you, Your Worship. You're moving. 2 and 3, thank you. Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. And
Madam Chair, can I suggest
yes,
that we
certainly.
just add the amendment with the above amendments addressed?
with the amendments addressed.
Above there, but we're actually below that. We're now adopting it without any changes.
Oh, yes, with
So we should
yes.
we should include in the resolution with the amendments, or
yes, put that in, I think, with the... Yes, adopt is the one we're just revoking. The bottom one. That's it. With the amendments and give it. Thank you very much. 2 and 3, that the committee recommends to... I'll read it from here. To Council to revoke the Waste Collection Bylaw 2012 and the Sanitary Landfill Bylaw 2008 on the 31st of October 2016. 3, that the committee recommends to Council to adopt the Solid Waste Bylaw 2016 and give the bylaw effect as of the 31st... Oh, sorry. I've blown that one. Oh, excuse me. 3, I better... I'll take them both again. I beg your pardon. 2, that the committee recommends to Council to revoke the Waste Collection Bylaw 2012 and Sanitary Landfill Bylaw 2008 on the 31st of October 2016. And 3, that the committee recommends to Council to adopt the Solid Waste Bylaw 2016 with the suggested amendments and give the bylaw effect as of the 31st of October 2016. It has been moved by Her Worship and seconded by Councillor Gord. All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Contrary? Thank you. Carried. Thank you. I'd like to now declare this meeting... Oh, yes.
They got some rubbish, and I think we're all, I think what perhaps we all need to restate here is that as a team, as a council, are always prepared to work with the community, for environmentally, friendly purposes. The only thing we are asking the community group sometimes to give us a little bit of a lead notice instead of a Friday morning to have everything ready by Friday afternoon. So, we need a bit more time to organize logistics behind it. But certainly, we're more than happy to assist.
Well, thank you very much. Well, thank you, Your Worship, councillors, and I now declare this meeting, our meeting closed. Thank you.